1432 hours, Bethesda, Maryland. The heavy oak doors of the Food and Drug Administration headquarters slammed shut. Inside, a seemingly routine medical document received its final signature. But that stroke of a pen did not just cure pediatric hearing loss. It quietly triggered the most terrifying arms race in human history. Run the numbers with me. A single Ford-class aircraft carrier costs $13 billion to build. A single dose of Regeneron's newly approved Otarmeni gene therapy costs just $2 million. For the price of one floating airstrip, the Pentagon can fundamentally rewrite the DNA of 6,500 American soldiers, 6,500 operators who no longer rely on standard human biology, 6,500 lethal assets. But here's what nobody tells you. This was never just about pediatric medicine. On April 23, 2026, the administration granted accelerated approval to lansotogene parvexuai. They told the public it targets biallelic mutant variants in the OTOF gene. They released clinical trial data showing 80% of patients experienced significant hearing improvements within 24 weeks. That is the official story. That is the palatable narrative for the evening news. What they did not disclose was the immediate military application. In modern urban combat, auditory processing is the difference between life and death. A standard human ear cannot detect the high-frequency whine of a loitering munition until it is 400 meters away. By the time you hear the drone, you are already dead. But an operator with an artificially enhanced OTOF gene expression hears that same drone from 1,200 meters away. They process the acoustic signature faster than a digital warning receiver. They have an organic, built-in radar system. And that was the moment everything changed. The United States military is not acting out of ambition. They are acting out of pure, unadulterated panic. Because they are not the first ones to cross this biological Rubicon. They are reacting to a shadow war that has been raging in secret laboratories for over a decade. What they did not know was that Beijing had already rewritten the rules of engagement. Look across the Pacific Ocean. 7,200 miles away from that administrative office sits the Academy of Military Medical Sciences in Beijing. For years, American intelligence officials have tracked a disturbing pattern of research. They watched as foreign military scientists explored CRISPR technology. They were not looking for cures to rare diseases. They were looking for battlefield dominance. They were seeking cognitive and physical enhancements for the People's Liberation Army. Imagine a Chinese Marine who does not feel fatigue. Imagine an infantryman whose blood oxygen levels are genetically optimized to fight at extreme altitudes in the Himalayas without acclimatization. This is not science fiction. This is the new reality of geopolitical power. A 25-to-1 advantage in troop numbers means nothing if the enemy troops are biologically superior. But look closer at the intelligence reports. The Chinese military recognized that human biology is the ultimate bottleneck in modern warfare. You can build a hypersonic missile that travels at Mach 8. You can build an autonomous drone swarm that processes targeting data in milliseconds. But the human operator sitting in the Combat Information Center still has a reaction time of 250 milliseconds. The human body still requires sleep. The human mind still succumbs to fear. Beijing realized that to win the next global conflict, they had to upgrade the human machine. And the Pentagon knew they were falling behind. That is a bankrupt strategy. No nation on Earth can afford to fight genetically modified super soldiers with standard infantry. You would be sending obsolete hardware into a next-generation meat grinder. So the United States had to respond. They had to launch their own biological initiatives. But they could not do it in the open. They could not announce a super soldier program to the American public. The ethical backlash would have shut down the funding overnight. They needed a cover story. They needed a legitimate medical breakthrough to mask the military application. And that is exactly what Regeneron provided. But the auditory enhancements were only the first phase. The rabbit hole goes much deeper than anyone realizes. Enter the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, the mad scientists of the American military-industrial complex. While the administration was busy approving hearing treatments, the defense agency was quietly expanding its biological defense initiatives. They launched a program called Safe Genes. Officially, Safe Genes is designed to develop prophylactic and therapeutic treatments. It is supposed to protect United States service members from the accidental or intentional misuse of genome editing technologies. That is the public mission statement. But here is the truth. You cannot build a shield against a genetic weapon without first understanding how to build the weapon itself. Safe Genes is a dual-use program. It maps the exact vulnerabilities in the human genome. It identifies precisely which genetic sequences can be altered to enhance survivability. They are preparing for a battlefield where the air itself is weaponized. But the Pentagon did not stop there. They launched another highly classified initiative known as the INTERCEPT program. INTERCEPT is developing therapeutic interfering particles. These are not traditional vaccines. These are dynamic engineered particles that co-evolve with mutating viruses in real time. They are designed to protect military personnel from fast-evolving biological threats like Ebola and Zika. But think about that for a second. If you can engineer a particle that dynamically rewrites its own genetic code to defeat a virus, you can engineer a particle that dynamically rewrites human DNA to enhance performance. The technology is identical. Only the payload changes. The $65 million invested in these biological defense programs is just the tip of the spear. The real money is hidden in black budgets. The real research is buried deep in classified facilities. And the results are terrifying. Because the biological arms race is not just about defending against viruses. It is about fundamentally altering the human organism to survive the unimaginable horrors of a 21st century war. What they did not tell the public was that the first human trials had already begun. The mutation was already here. Picture the South China Sea. 0300 hours. The waters surrounding Taiwan are pitch black. A squad of United States Navy operators silently approaches a fortified artificial island in the Spratly Chain. Traditionally, this is a suicide mission. The Chinese garrison is equipped with thermal imaging, acoustic sensors, and autonomous sentry drones. The odds of a successful infiltration are practically zero, a 50-to-1 disadvantage in firepower. But these are not traditional operators. These are the first generation of biologically enhanced warfighters. Their OTOF genes have been modified using the newly approved protocols. They hear the high-frequency hum of the sentry drones from 2 miles away. They navigate the treacherous reef not by sight, but by acoustic mapping. Their bodies have been treated with therapeutic interfering particles. They are completely immune to the weaponized biological agents deployed along the perimeter. They move with a lethal, silent precision that defies standard human capability. This is the reality the Pentagon is preparing for. They know that a war with China will not be won with aircraft carriers alone. A $13 billion carrier is just a massive target for a $2 million anti-ship ballistic missile. The math of danger is heavily skewed against large, expensive platforms. To survive the first 72 hours of a Pacific conflict, the United States must rely on distributed, lethal, and survivable small units. And the only way to make those units survivable is to upgrade the soldiers themselves. This was not a simple medical trial. This was a rehearsal for World War III. The medical approval was just the legal framework needed to mass-produce the genetic treatments. But look closer at the secondary effects. Hearing is just one sense. What happens when they move on to the next phase? What happens when they start altering brain chemistry? The public has no idea what is coming. The administration recently mandated additional Phase 3 clinical trials for Unicori's AMT-130. This is an experimental gene therapy designed to silence the mutant Huntington gene in the human brain. It is a noble pursuit to cure a devastating neurological disease. But run the numbers with me. If you possess the technology to selectively silence specific genes in the human brain, you possess the ultimate weapon. The human brain is the command and control center of the battlefield. What happens if you silence the genes responsible for the production of cortisol? Cortisol is the primary stress hormone. It triggers the fight or flight response. It causes panic. It causes hesitation. In a firefight, hesitation kills. A soldier who hesitates for half a second is a dead soldier. But a soldier who has been genetically modified to feel absolutely no fear is an unstoppable killing machine. They would walk into a hail of machine gun fire with the calm precision of a machine. They would execute complex tactical maneuvers under devastating artillery barrages without a single spike in heart rate. This is what the intelligence agencies believe the Chinese are already doing. And this is why the administration is fast-tracking these specific neurological gene therapies. They are building the foundation for cognitive enhancement. But here is what nobody tells you. The side effects of silencing the fear response are catastrophic. You are stripping away the very mechanism that keeps a human being alive. You are creating a sociopathic operator who cannot distinguish between necessary force and absolute slaughter. And that was the moment the ethical lines completely dissolved. The Pentagon is staring down the barrel of a Chinese military that does not care about bioethics. Beijing will do whatever it takes to secure global hegemony. And the United States has decided that the only way to defeat a monster is to become one. But the genetic manipulation does not stop at the brain. On April 22, 2026, researchers published groundbreaking findings in the journal Nature. They detailed how cancer cells rewire gene activity via AP1 proteins. This allows the cells to survive devastating therapies without requiring new DNA mutations. It is a brilliant discovery in the fight against oncology. But view this through the lens of a military strategist. Cancer cells are incredibly resilient. They survive radiation. They survive toxic chemicals. They adapt to hostile environments with terrifying speed. Now imagine transferring that cellular resilience to a human soldier. Imagine a Marine whose cells use AP1 proteins to rapidly rewire their gene activity in the middle of a battle. If they are exposed to a chemical weapon, their cells instantly adapt to neutralize the toxin. If they are exposed to high doses of radiation from a tactical nuclear strike, their cells repair the genetic damage in real time. They become virtually indestructible. This is not a fantasy. This is the exact cellular mechanism that military researchers are studying. They want to harness the resilience of cancer and weaponize it for survival. But what they did not know was the sheer unpredictability of the AP1 protein rewiring. When you teach healthy human cells to behave like cancer cells, you are playing Russian roulette with the human genome. You might create a super soldier who can survive a dirty bomb, but you also might create a biological time bomb, a soldier whose own body eventually turns against them in a cascade of uncontrollable cellular growth. This is the terrifying cost of biological warfare. For every dollar the enemy spends on biological weapons, American taxpayers spend $215 to develop a countermeasure. But the true cost is paid in human flesh. The military is pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human, and they are doing it entirely in the shadows. But look closer at the hardware integration. The United States military has a program called MUTANT. It is an Air Force Research Laboratory aerospace initiative. MUTANT stands for Missile Utility Transformation via Articulated Nose Technology. Officially, it is not a human biological engineering project. It involves the active morphing and high-rate pivoting of missile forebodies. They are modifying the Hellfire frame to intercept highly maneuverable aerial threats. They want to shoot down advanced combat jets and hypersonic weapons. That is the unclassified description. But here is what nobody tells you. The Pentagon loves to use dual-use nomenclature. They use aerospace programs to beta test guidance algorithms that are eventually integrated into biological systems. The MUTANT missile program is developing active morphing technology. It allows a missile to physically change its shape in midair to intercept a target. Now, apply that exact same concept to the INTERCEPT program's therapeutic interfering particles. The defense agency is developing biological particles that actively morph and pivot their genetic structure to intercept mutating viruses. The mathematical algorithms used to guide the mutant Hellfire missile are the exact same algorithms used to guide the therapeutic particles through the human bloodstream. It is a seamless integration of aerospace engineering and synthetic biology. The $4.3 million interceptor is the only thing standing between the fleet and total disaster. But the standard missile is useless against a genetically engineered bioweapon deployed by a Chinese maritime militia vessel. The next generation of air dominance is not just about fighter jets. It is about dominating the biological airspace. It is about ensuring that the American operator in the cockpit is genetically superior to the Chinese operator in the opposing cockpit. Ground testing for the MUTANT missile prototype is happening right now. But the biological ground testing has been happening for years, and the administration just gave them the green light to take it global. Run the numbers with me one more time. The United States spends over $800 billion a year on defense. A massive portion of that budget goes toward legacy platforms. $13 billion for an aircraft carrier, $3 billion for a nuclear submarine, $100 million for a single fighter jet. But the battlefield is changing. A $20,000 drone can cripple a $100 million jet while it sits on the runway. A swarm of autonomous boats can overwhelm a billion-dollar destroyer in the Strait of Hormuz. The cost asymmetry is completely unsustainable. That is a bankrupt strategy. No nation on Earth can afford to win that way. The Pentagon knows this. They know that the era of massive steel platforms is coming to an end. The future of warfare is biological. It is cheaper to upgrade the soldier than it is to upgrade the tank. For $2 million a dose, you can deploy a biologically enhanced operator who can outmaneuver, outlast, and outfight an entire platoon of standard infantry. 5,000 American sailors aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln rely on billions of dollars of defensive hardware. But what if those 5,000 sailors were genetically modified to require 50% less sleep? The operational efficiency of the carrier strike group would double overnight. What if their cognitive processing speeds were enhanced by 20%? They would track and engage incoming anti-ship missiles faster than the combat system could process the data. This is the ultimate force multiplier. And this is exactly why the administration accelerated the approval of Lunsodagene Parvexebuhayore. They are laying the groundwork for a massive biological overhaul of the United States Armed Forces. But there is a massive geopolitical roadblock standing in their way. The United States Department of Defense's biological research remains bound by the United Nations Biological Weapons Convention. This treaty currently has 183 states parties. They are all theoretically committed to preventing the weaponization of genetic technologies. But treaties are just pieces of paper. They only work if everyone plays by the rules. And Beijing threw the rulebook out the window a long time ago. American intelligence knows that foreign adversaries are actively violating the spirit of the convention. They are using civilian medical research as a front for military enhancement programs. The genetic laboratories in Shenzhen are not just curing diseases. They are building the next generation of the People's Liberation Army. And the United Nations is completely powerless to stop it. You cannot inspect every medical facility on the planet. You cannot regulate the microscopic editing of human DNA. The arms race has gone subcellular, and the United States is officially pretending to play by the rules while secretly accelerating its own programs. This was not a diplomatic failure. This was a calculated deception. The medical approval of the Atarmani gene therapy is the perfect loophole. It is a strictly medical treatment for pediatric hearing loss. It is completely legal under international law. But once the technology is perfected, once the genetic delivery mechanisms are proven safe and effective, the military will quietly adapt it for their own operators. They will bypass the Biological Weapons Convention by claiming the enhancements are purely defensive. They will argue that protecting a soldier's hearing from the deafening roar of artillery is a medical necessity, not a weaponization of the genome. It is a brilliant, terrifying legal strategy. But what they did not anticipate was the reaction of the global community. Look at the frozen expanse of the Arctic Circle. 400 miles north of the Arctic Circle, the Russian Northern Fleet is conducting its own dark experiments. While the world focuses on the United States and China, Moscow has quietly resurrected its Cold War biological research facilities. American intelligence satellites have detected massive thermal signatures emanating from supposedly abandoned bunkers in Siberia. They are not building tanks. They are building resilience. Russian military scientists are studying the AP-1 protein rewiring process with terrifying intensity. They know they cannot compete with the $13 billion American aircraft carriers. Their economy is smaller than the state of Texas, but a $2 million gene therapy is well within their budget. Imagine a Russian elite operator genetically modified to withstand sub-zero temperatures without standard thermal gear. They could lay in ambush in the freezing snow for 72 hours without their core body temperature dropping a single degree. This is the asymmetric warfare of the future. The same carrier strike group doctrine that dominates the Persian Gulf is now being tested in freezing waters where it was never designed to operate. And the American sailors deployed to those freezing waters will need their own biological enhancements just to survive the environment. The arms race is no longer confined to the South China Sea. It is spread to the most hostile environments on Earth. And the medical approval of Otarmeni was the starting gun. The proliferation of genetic weapons is moving faster than any intelligence agency can track. We are standing on the precipice of a new era. The line between man and machine has already been blurred. Now, the line between human and weapon is being erased entirely. 38 minutes. That is all it took for the administration to finalize the approval that changed the trajectory of human evolution. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard crews manning their speedboats in the Persian Gulf think they are facing standard American sailors. They believe their commander's promises that speed and numbers will crash through American defenses like a tidal wave through a sandcastle. What they do not know is that they are about to face a completely new breed of warfighter, an operator who hears the hum of their diesel engines from miles away, an operator whose cells are rewired to survive the toxic smoke of a burning ship, an operator who feels absolutely no fear as the swarm approaches. The $4.3 million interceptor missile is impressive, but the ultimate weapon is the modified human mind. The Pentagon has realized that to project power across the globe, they must first conquer the human genome. The MUTANT program, Safe Genes, INTERCEPT. These are not isolated initiatives. They are puzzle pieces in a grand, terrifying design. The United States is building an army of super soldiers right in front of our eyes, hidden behind the sterile language of medical approvals and aerospace acronyms. And that is the moment everything changed. The biological Rubicon has been crossed. There is no going back. The next global conflict will not be decided by who has the most aircraft carriers. It will be decided by who has the most advanced DNA. But here is the one question nobody at the Pentagon wants to answer. When you engineer a weapon that thinks, breathes, and evolves on its own, how exactly do you plan to control it? The terrifying answer is they cannot, and our darkest nightmare has only just begun.